Hey guys, welcome to the video. Howell here, and today we're going to be talking about wholesaling houses whilst working full-time. Exactly what you need to know. Now, these are some powerful tips that I wish I would have heard as I was making that transition from working full-time to becoming a full-time entrepreneur, wholesaler, real estate investor. So if that's you and that's the transition that you're looking to make, I think you'll find this video especially helpful. And for those of you who are new to my channel, I want to give you a huge warm welcome. I hope this content resonates with you. Feel free to browse some of the other videos here on the channel, and make sure if this content resonates to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so that you get notified when I have new content available. So guys, just a really simple video here. Coming to you in my home office. I'm still working a little bit on the lighting, and actually you'll notice in the background I have another computer back there, and so I recently made the switch from PC to Apple, and so I got the 27-inch iMac, and so I just got the old computer there, getting some files off of that, and so that's why you'll see that in the background. And then I'm gonna be working on some shelving back there and a little bit more cool of a backdrop, but nonetheless, the content is most important, right? So let's get to it. So a couple things you should know about wholesaling houses full-time. If you are wanting to get to that full-time and you're working full-time, here's a few things that I really want you to consider. This is something that I've gone through personally. This is something that when I work over the last 4 years with people one-on-one in their wholesaling businesses in real estate, many of them are starting in a full-time job. Sometimes they're working part-time, and then sometimes they're already doing real estate full-time. So this is a topic that has come up often, okay? So a couple things that I want to touch on is, first and foremost, if you have a full-time job, do not quit it just yet. You may see that in my video where I kind of do a little documentary about my story of transitioning to a full-time real estate investor. I quit my job pretty early on, really burned my bridges, and it was very stressful in the beginning. And so I would just caution that if this is something you truly want to do, don't go out and quit your job just yet. And for reference of the video that I'm talking about, where my wife and I kind of tell you some of the pain points of that transition and just a little bit more of our personal story, my wife and I, feel free to check it out above. I'll make sure to link it at this part of the video. But yeah, just have that gratitude. I think it's very important. You may despise your job, you may hate it. It may, as you start to kind of open your mind to the world of entrepreneurship and real estate investing and all the things that are possible, more and more those little office politics and things that are going on, may just irritate you even more. But if you can have that expression of gratitude of like, you know what, I do have some consistent money coming in right now. This is able to pay the bills, or at least a portion of them. This is something that is, I am grateful for right now. And so just try to have that heart of gratitude while you're building these extra skills. Whilst. I'm going to continue using the word whilst. So another thing is it's very difficult when you're trying to launch anything when you're coming from a place of sheer desperation. Now, there are stories I'm sure that you've heard when somebody's back is against the wall, miraculous things can happen. And so I'm certainly not trying to undercut any of that, okay? But I also know that when you, let's say, you have to have something happen in the next 2 weeks and you're trying to get your real estate business off the ground, coming from that place of desperation, sellers, buyers, people that you're working with in your market, they're going to be able to see through that. And, when you're coming from that place of sheer desperation, it just makes things all the more challenging, okay? So having a job can actually be a huge benefit during this transitional phase for yourself. Another thing that I want you to be aware of is that entrepreneurship is not the same thing as employment, Okay, so this is a powerful inner stance. This is all like an attitude shift. This is something that's so important. It's very easy to overlook, but oftentimes people will get in the real estate investing business and in any entrepreneurial endeavor and think, if I put in, these 10 hours worth of work, then I'm going to get X result. And that is not the way entrepreneurship works, okay? Like in the corporate world, in regular, having a job, you put in 40 hours and you get paid X amount. And so over time, for many of us, years and years and years, we're conditioned that if we do this, then we get this result. And I know when I, came into the entrepreneurship world and I started working on my real estate investing business, it's kind of shocking like how much work you're putting in without the expectation of anything in return. And that's often very shocking, and very scary. And I record this video, guys, just to be real with you, okay? Like, I don't want to sugarcoat it. Yes, in this business, you can absolutely change your life, and you can do it in a very short amount of time. You can acquire some of the most amazing skill sets that can serve you for the rest of your life. But in the age of so many flashy checks on Instagram and Facebook and here on YouTube, and the fancy cars and the ads and the infomercials, and just also the way that culture is going with that need of like instant gratification, whether we're checking how many likes we got on a post or whatever the case is, we want instant results. And oftentimes, whether you are starting some type of affiliate marketing business or real estate business or any entrepreneurial endeavor, we put it, the employee that's starting their business on the side will put in X amount of hours, say 10 or 15 hours, or even more than that, with the expectation of like, okay, it's where is my return? And so there's this inner shift that has to happen to realize that like entrepreneurship does not work that way. And oftentimes people underestimate, and when I say this, I'm including myself in this, guys. This is something that I am not immune from. Okay, this is something that I had to learn and go through, and I want to share this wisdom with you guys to really prepare yourself when you're starting any business. You're going to put in a great amount of work, and things are going to be new, and there's going to be skills that you have to acquire and things that you have to do. And it is not the same of putting in X amount of hours to get X amount of result. Now, that does not mean that you still can't achieve the level of results that you see in some of the testimonials and in, the success stories and all of those things. So much is possible, and that's why there are more millionaires created in real estate than almost any other industry, and that's why you see so many people successful, because it truly is that possible. It's actually doable, but people underestimate the amount of work that's required. And so I want to kind of pull off that sugar coating a little bit for you and allow you to just realize that like entrepreneurship is not the same as employment, and you have to approach it with a different mindset, okay? You have to approach it differently, or else things start to get really crazy in your mind, and that never leads to success. So let's keep moving here. So a couple of tips that I would give you is to set an end time frame. So if you are wanting to quit your job, if you're wanting to go full-time in your real estate business, rather than just up and quitting, I think it's very beneficial to set an end time frame. Whether that's 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. My personal opinion is that it should be somewhat relatively, like some relative short amount of time. If it's like 3 years away, it's just, it's not motivating enough, especially if it's something that we really want to do and we're passionate about. But if it's like 90 days away or 6 months or 9 months, something like that, we can wrap our mind around and we can say, okay, by the end of the year, by next summer, by, whatever's 3, 6, or 9 months away from now, if I just work so hard and get so focused and follow a certain game plan, I can make this happen and I can put the necessary pieces in place. So that would be a really powerful tip for you guys. It's amazing what you can accomplish in like a 3, 6, and 9 month period when you're doing the right activities, okay? The other thing is I would know, and this is the non-sexy part of this, but it's the critical piece that a lot of times people will skip over. And it's really taking a look at your schedule 7 days a week and looking at the time blocks truthfully and conservatively what time you have available or that you can carve out working this business. And then blocking that off on your calendar or on paper and really setting aside certain hours for your business and making it like locked in stone to the best of your ability. So that you know during these hours, like that is when I'm focused on my business. Like I know that, my family knows that, and these 2 hours each day are when I'm putting in the effort. Okay, I think that's very important. What oftentimes happens is people are like, yeah, that sounds good. They don't do that step, and then they're trying to just fit it in when they can, and that never leads to the consistency or the results that they're looking for. You know what I mean? So the other thing with that is you need to know each day, like what you're going to be doing each day. You also need to know what hours you're going to block off on those days. So it's not good enough to just know that you're going to be working on your business Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You need to know exactly what hours. And then from there, you also need to know exactly what actions will you be doing, okay? And that's the big piece. It is so important to have an actual execution plan. What is going to produce leads? What is going to move the needle in your business, okay? And if you do not have an execution plan, guys, that is something I would spend some time really putting on paper what marketing and what things you're going to do to produce leads in your wholesaling business. And if you need help with that, I would love to possibly speak with you personally. If you go ahead and click the very first link in the description of this video, you can opt into my email list, and I have some great free content for you that I've prepared. I'm not going to slam you with a million bits of information. Excuse me while I take a drink. But I do have some powerful free content that is actionable, that has led to a lot of people doing their very first deals. And then if it makes sense and you'd like to possibly work with me or speak with me in a strategy call, we can also set that up as well. But regardless, there's some great content for you to consume. So anyways, that's important. And then once you have those necessary things, the other thing that you want to really consider, okay, and I talked about this in a recent video, is it's creative avoidance. So when you have the certain days of the week blocked off and you say, okay, I'm going to come home on Monday night at 6 o'clock p.m. and I'm working my real estate business till 8, and you know exactly what you're going to do, but then you go to do that thing and it's a little new, it's a little different, you don't fully know how to do it, it feels a little uncomfortable, then the second guessing starts to come in, and it's like, well, maybe I don't understand this as good as I think I do. And then so we're off on social media trying to search some things on YouTube, listening to multiple different people, trying to learn a little bit more about that. Or we take a different route, and when there comes that pressure of like, okay, today's the day where I need to call these 10 executors or these 10 attorneys or these 10 motivated seller leads, and we start to go ahead and make that call, and then maybe the first call doesn't go too well, and we're like, you know what, and we pull open a new tab on our internet browser and we go to Facebook, or we go to Netflix, you know what I mean? Like we're on Netflix, we're on Instagram, or we're registering for a new webinar and we're like, you know what, maybe I don't have the right lead source. Things aren't coming as easily as I saw in that one video or as I saw in that seminar or training. Maybe I don't have the right plan. And then that second guessing, and it's a vicious cycle. So just be very aware of creative avoidance that oftentimes comes in the place of Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Netflix, whatever it is for you, video games, cleaning, organizing, or just going to hang with friends or whatever. Be very aware of that. And when it's time to execute that game plan, it's so critical to actually execute that game plan. And so the last point on here is to simply do the work. And what I remember, like what motivated me is I had in my mind that I was going to be quitting my job within about 3 months or so. And so if you can do that, like, you know, and you have that time frame, whether it's 3 or 6 or 9 months, whatever it is, and you can just say, you know what, I'm going to work harder than I've ever worked in my life for these next 3 months. I'm going to get locked in. I'm going to get focused. I'm going to put days together. You know, I'm going to be consistent on Monday, consistent on Tuesday, consistent on Wednesday, and start to line up some successful days. That 3 months or that 6 months isn't too far off. And then when you also have, you're very clear like why you're doing this, and you know, you see that freedom that you could have and some of these benefits of working for yourself in front of you, and you're thinking about them, you know, it all just starts to come together. So, okay, so one other thing that I want you to consider, and this is just a tip that may or may not resonate with you, but it's something that's worked for me personally. And it's when you're going through this period of working a full-time job and trying to launch your real estate investing and wholesaling business, the way that I thought of it is like I'm going to a military boot camp, and I have to get focused, and I have to make some sacrifices, and I have to treat this so serious. And that's just a way for me, like growing up, like I used to do karate and stuff, and always, you know, was involved in sports and just different things. There's that competitive side to me, and just seeing like military movies and, you know, just gladiator type stuff and all sorts of stuff. Like I tried to treat this as like my battlefield, like my mission. And I certainly don't say that to be offensive. Like if you're in the military, like I'm not trying to say, that it compares in any way, shape, or form. All I'm saying is that the way I viewed it in my mind was like, I'm going to war here. I'm going to battle. And for the next 90 days, for the next 6 months, for the next year, I have to be very disciplined. I have to cut out some of the stuff that's going to take me away from my goals. I have to really just make some sacrifices and really get consistent. So guys, that is just a helpful tip that may or may not resonate, that when you have that end goal in mind, whether it's 3, 6, or 9 months, and you have the days mapped out, the hours mapped out, and the actions mapped out, and you know you are focused, you have that game plan, it's like it's time to saddle up. Like it's boot camp time. It's time to make this happen. And again, the more, you know, painful your situation is right now, the more motivated a lot of times we are to change that. But the more we retreat to comfort, the harder it is to make those changes. And so again, be very careful that when you start to do these new things and you start to send out letters and you start to do some advertisements and make some calls and things start to stretch you a little bit, again, you're going to feel like, man, I'm just going to go to Netflix. I'm going to go, like, I'm not going to do this today. And that retreat back to comfort is so appealing. It's so enticing. And all the little lies and all the little things that we can tell ourselves to get ourselves off of the hook, because we don't want to blame ourselves. It's very easy to get ourselves off the hook and to justify and to find those bits of creative avoidance. So when you feel that, I say this because if you can recognize it and start to get very, very, very aware and start to realize when some of these things are happening and say, no, like there's a reason why I'm doing this, you're going to have a greater chance of success, right? So I want you guys to be armed and ready and be like, no, it's boot camp time. Like it's time, like I'm transforming who I am. and I'm learning these new skills, and there's a reason why I set out to do this in the first place. And this season of sacrifice is not going to last forever. Yes, I'm working a full-time job right now. Yes, I'm doing all these things, but remember, it will pass. Things are a season, and when you plant those seeds, there will be a harvest, but you have to stay diligent. And that alone, that persistence and seeing something through is becoming more and more of a lost art. Again, in the culture we find ourselves in, longevity and seeing something through to completion is very challenging. And these are just a few tangible ways that aren't very sexy that will help you to stay the course. So I just wanted to put in this little part of the video because I think it's very important. It's so critical, especially when you are in a full-time job. Time is your most valuable asset, okay? So one of the things that competes for our attention in this day and age is just messaging. Whether you are, driving to work on the radio, whether you're watching or streaming stuff on TV, online, there's stuff screaming for your attention all day, every day. So one of my friends and mentors that produces in the millions of dollars each month, one of the things that he was sharing with me was seriously, delete almost every app off of your phone. Delete all the tabs in your internet browser. Become almost like a minimalist. The problem for most entrepreneurs or aspiring business owners is they're just going in way too many directions. And so of course you have to cater that to yourself, but I will share with you that this is something I have implemented, and I use less apps on my phone. I have less apps on my iMac computer now. I have things just very, very organized, so where there's a couple of things on my desk and that is it. So the more that you can eliminate distraction, and most people are not ruthless enough to eliminate their distraction. You have to be ruthless with eliminating distraction and just really be able to focus on the task at hand. And that alone can just transform everything for you, but it takes a lot of focus and a lot of attention. And then the last thing that I want to share with you guys is that there is, especially when you have a full-time job, if the pain of your current situation is not greater than the pain of doing the new activity, oftentimes we don't change. It's very, very powerful. And so especially if you're kind of getting into this pattern where you're kind of comfortable, that is the death blow to making this transition, right? Because it's so easy to retreat back to comfort. Naturally, as humans, we want to retreat back to what is comfortable. So as you start to stretch yourself and you start to do these new things, it is going to feel extra enticing, especially when it's time to do the work. It's going to feel extra enticing to retreat back to that comfort zone and to get on Netflix or to get on Facebook or to just not do the work that day. Maybe organize your email, maybe go play some basketball or whatever it is, and just do something different. And then the part that we justify it with is I need to refresh my mind a little bit. It's good for me to take a break and get perspective, and I'll just attack it tomorrow. And then if we're not careful, we can tell ourselves that for far too long. So guys, these are some things that obviously, and this video may not get 1 million likes because it's a more serious video, but I want to be real with you guys that especially when you're working a full-time job, you do not have time to play around. If you have 1.5 or 2 or 3 hours in the evening or in the morning before work, you need to already have these things established, right? You need to have an execution plan. You need to know the hours and the days that you're working on your business and what you're doing. And you need to have distractions eliminated to the best of your ability. because like if you're spending 2 or 3 hours just playing around the internet trying to figure out what to do, then like the time to actually act is gone. And then all of a sudden what starts happening, and I've been there, trust me, is we start to acquire all this knowledge from a million different sources, and then it starts to just pile up in our mind, and that causes anxiety and stress because we're not putting it into action long enough. And then we start to doubt and second guess, and fear kicks in and all these things. And that's why we're going to a million different gurus, subscribing to everybody's list, getting on all the webinars, because we think we're missing something. And we get on that hamster wheel. And so it's just so important. What beats all of that is action. But before we can get to action, we have to know what to do. And so if you're in that place, I don't mean to like put this down. If you're in that place where you are trying to figure out what to do, that is okay. I want to say like that is okay. Give yourself a time frame. Say, okay, I'm going to research this for the next like week or two, but put a deadline on it. And it shouldn't be any more than a week or two, 3-4 weeks. And set a date that you're going to stop that and you're going to start taking action. Because if not, I've seen people stay in that education mode for years and years and years. And that's why I'm recording this video, is because I want you guys to not make some of these mistakes and be able to get into results much faster. So anyways, guys, I hope you like this video. Again, we talked about wholesaling houses whilst working full-time. A couple things you need to know. I hope you found this video valuable and helpful and at least gained a tip or two out of it. So if you guys got anything out of this video, I'd love to hear it in the comments below. Be sure to smash that like button and hit the little notification bell so you can get notified when I have a new video published. So anyways, guys, have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next video.